So some breaking news coming in the last couple of minutes, and it regards now former WWE superstar the Velveteen Dream, because the Velveteen Dream has been released by the WWE. This was first reported by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful and PW Insider. They first broke the news that NXT superstar the Velveteen Dream has been let go by the company. Now, this was first, as I mentioned, reported by Sean Ross Sapp, who tweeted, quote, Velveteen Dream has been released by WWE, I'm told, and you're going to have to bear with me here because this is something that is kind of breaking as we speak, so I'm going through the information as I'm recording right now. Ryan Satin, of course, who works with Fox Sports covering WWE, has also tweeted, quote, as first reported by Sean Ross Sapp and PW Insider, sources confirmed to me that the Velveteen Dream has been released from WWE. John Alba, local reporter in Florida, has been covering a lot of WWE stuff whilst they've been having their residencies and been based in Florida during the pandemic, has also tweeted, quote, yesterday, a WWE talent texted me in the aftermath of Drake Wuertz news, quote, Dream has got to be next. Sean Ross Sapp and PW Insider both reporting that now WWE has indeed released Velveteen Dream. And on that, because of course this news does follow yesterday's news about Drake Wuertz and other NXT talents being released yesterday, a lot of the discussion on social media, first of all regarding Drake Wuertz, was how did it take so long? He had multiple chances, was suspended earlier on in the year, and still carried on with his rhetoric, his beliefs, affected him in the workplace. Lots of talent didn't feel comfortable around him, and that's obviously a massive issue when you're an executive or a senior figure in that company. He wasn't an executive, but certainly a senior figure at the Performance Center for NXT, and especially a referee when you're meant to be helping the talent in there and you're meant to be training talent at the Performance Center. If they don't feel comfortable being around you, being in the ring with you, there were reports that he was storming out of meetings with Triple H once Triple H brought up the issue of religion and everyone being treated equally and diversity. He would storm out. He would criticize people for getting vaccinations or wearing masks or anything like that, socially distanced, and everyone felt that they weren't comfortable. So a lot of people, myself included yesterday, once we got the news of Drake Wuertz being released by WWE, felt what took them so long. But then people's attention turned to, and this has kind of always been the case, and it's been the case when talent's been released going back to April, when you had the likes of Samoa Joe, Chelsea Green, the Iconics, Kalisto, the list goes on and on of the names that were released, Mickie James, that were released in April. A lot of people said, how does the Velveteen Dream still have a job with the WWE? And obviously that comes off the back on nearly a year ago now when it comes to the speaking out movement. When it comes to the speaking out movement, if you're not familiar with this story, it was a big story last year in which lots of people on social media, people inside the professional wrestling industry and outside of it, came forward and spoke out about what they perceived as, sexual assault allegations or allegations of misconduct, and sharing their story, sharing their harrowing experiences, just absolutely some accounts of pure bravery in there, and some serious allegations at a variety of people within the pro wrestling industry. Now, it must be said, these are allegations, and some of the allegations were unfounded, but some of them weren't. WWE investigated a lot of these allegations, at least they said they did. They released quite a few talents, mostly based in the United Kingdom, but also released some talents in the United States. Jack Gallagher was a name that was let go because of these allegations against him. There were some talents that were suspended because of the allegations against them. There were some allegations against various talents that are still with WWE today and still compete on various brands, one being the NXT UK brand. There were allegations against the likes of Jordan Devlin, Joe Coffey, Sid Scala. As far as I'm aware, those allegations still haven't gone away. The issue is with all of these allegations is that they're just that, and especially in cases of, especially in these kind of assaults or inappropriate conduct, behavior, when it's just between two people, is literally one person's account versus another person's account. It's very difficult to prove anything, and that goes for both sides of it. It's very difficult to prove that the allegation did indeed happen. It's also very difficult to prove that what they say is consensual isn't consensual. All that kind of stuff is very, very difficult to prove, and there have been lawsuits about these allegations and all this kind of stuff. When it comes to the Velveteen Dream, there were, and I think this is actually prior to the speaking out allegations, to be honest, was these allegations of misconduct in regards to messaging. I think they were minors on Instagram. messaging them inappropriately, and I think prior to that, some inappropriate images of the Velveteen Dream, should we say some compromising images, private images of the Velveteen Dream leaked online. He said that he had been hacked, and that was the issue there. But then it furthermore came out that perhaps he was sending these images to the minors and all this kind of stuff. It was a very murky situation, and then more allegations continued to come out, and the Velveteen Dream, when it came to this, the evidence was slightly damning, if that's fair. But again, these were still allegations, and no charges were brought or anything like that. Triple H, in various media calls last year, was asked about these allegations against the Velveteen Dream and the evidence, because there were screenshots, there were voice messages, and these kind of supporting evidence of these allegations. And Triple H's response time and time again was, we investigated it, we didn't find anything there, that's the end of the matter. Then more allegations would come out, and he got the same response. And Triple H, frankly, was getting very frustrated on these media calls being asked about the Velveteen Dream. He said, we investigated it, we didn't find anything there, we moved on. The issue is that some of the people, specifically this one person, I won't say their name, but this one person who was alleging these accusations against the Velveteen Dream, came out and said, well, they may have done their own investigation, WWE, but they certainly didn't contact me. Now, myself, if I'm trying to investigate any allegation, you would think it would be the bare minimum to go to the person that was alleging this kind of behavior and say, look, what's your account of things? What evidence have you got? All that kind of stuff. Now, we don't know if the Velveteen Dream was ever suspended or anything like that, but after these allegations, he did come back on television for a little bit, but the reaction, and this was interesting as well, because this is taking place during the pandemic era of professional wrestling, in that you've got the NXT taking place initially from an empty Full Sail arena, and then the Performance Center. Even the reaction, certainly on social media, that I was seeing was that it had changed everyone's perception of how they viewed a Velveteen Dream match, promo, just anything. As soon as they saw him on the TV, those allegations weighed heavy over him, and it changed people's perception of him, because fans and people watching at home, and people occasionally when they were allowed in the Performance Center to watch him, felt that these allegations weren't ever fully addressed, and there was an element of not a lot of transparency here, and it was quite damning. The silence was quite damning. Now, we haven't seen him on WWE television, I believe since around, is it Christmas time? I mean, I will double check my facts here in front of me, but he hasn't been seen on TV for a while. He hasn't been seen on TV for a while. And again, there was lots of discussion of, okay, he's not being used on television. Does that have something to do with these allegations? If it does have something to do with these allegations, why is he still under contract with the WWE? It was kind of a thought process. And again, I don't know if this is accurate. This is speculation on my part when it comes to trying to get in the heads of those in WWE and NXT. I don't know if it was WWE's hope or Triple H's hope or whoever's hope that people would move on or people would forget, and people haven't. And the longer he stayed out of the spotlight, it's made it worse. And the longer that they haven't really addressed this publicly, in that they say they've just done an investigation, and these kind of allegations, people want to know what they did, and just saying they did an investigation isn't enough. Now, obviously, are WWE bound, and do they have to tell us everything they did? No, but I think an element of clarity may have helped the situation. I don't know. Now, Sean Ross Sapp is also reporting, quote, the Velveteen Dream hadn't been at many NXT tapings of late and hadn't wrestled in 2021. He had been coming to Open Ring, and there was growing concern in the company. He was being set up to help coach classes. He is now released from the company. So that's interesting there as well. Potentially, he may have stayed a little bit longer in terms of being under contract, because WWE may have thought, you know what, the press of this guy being an active talent, being on Raw, being on SmackDown, it's just going to be negative reaction wherever, especially considering fans are returning soon. Maybe his career as an active talent is over because of these allegations. Maybe we can transition him into a coach at the Performance Center. That might mean we can kind of keep everything in-house and the negative attention in-house. I think, to be honest, if that is the case as well, that is kind of, I think, just blindly optimistic and thinking they could get away with that with WWE, to be honest. Sean Ross Sapp is also tweeting, quote, Canyon Ceman emailed within WWE at about 4:45 p.m. Eastern Time to deliver the news to those in the company that the Velveteen Dream was released. Dream has a 30-day non-compete clause. Now, this is the thing. People will say, does the Velveteen Dream go to AEW or anything like that? No, he doesn't. The heat is far too hot when it comes to the allegations against him and the whole situation surrounding him. The Velveteen Dream isn't going to AEW. Is he going to go to an Impact? Again, I would be very surprised. Don't see him go to a Ring of Honor. They had a similar situation with Marty Scurll last year. I don't think they're going in that direction. But will the Velveteen ever wrestle again? Yes, he will, because unfortunately, especially now, we're getting to a point where fans are allowed to turn to events and more independent shows are opening back up. Unfortunately, and I say this as a lifelong professional wrestling fan, unfortunately, the pro wrestling industry is a very disgusting and dirty and murky business, in that especially on some of these independent shows, if they feel this promoter in the middle of the United States or around the world for that matter, if this promoter feels that they can make money by doing a Velveteen Dream appearance, they will do it. They will book him and they will try and make money off of him. That's the situation when it comes to him. So I don't think his professional wrestling career is necessarily over. In terms of being in the big leagues, unless somehow these allegations, they find out, they get to the bottom of this, but the allegations never looked good. And his career projection is just, it's one of the most, talk about a fast rise and such a quick fall, especially in modern history. And you got to remember, the Velveteen Dream, he's still a very young guy. Again, this will prove to you how much I'm kind of doing this, because the news just literally came out, I said a couple of minutes ago, as far as I'm aware, the Velveteen Dream is still in his 20s. Yeah, he's 25 years old. And this is a guy that, again, 25 years old, and he made his debut on the Tough Enough series in 2015. When he was, 20 years old. And whilst he didn't win it, it was obvious he had talent. And then when he debuted the Velveteen Dream character in NXT, it was one of the most unique and different characters that NXT had ever presented, and certainly had been presented in terms of the WWE landscape in a while. And everyone thought, given the guy's age and given the creative character that the Velveteen Dream is, this guy is destined for success. Absolutely destined for success. I think even John Cena singled out the Velveteen Dream as the future of WWE, and I don't think anyone would have disagreed with him. He was just on fire, and the creativity was overflowing with him. And everyone thought, man, given this guy's age, given the success that he's had, he's a former NXT North American Champion as well, it's inevitable that eventually this guy will go onto the main roster and he'll be incredibly successful, because he was all about the theatrics. He was all about over the top and presentation and entrances and all that kind of stuff that Vince McMahon and people like Bruce Pritchard, they love that. The in-ring stuff is kind of secondary. It's the presentation, it's the character that gets you over and grabs the attention of fans. And it was the case with the Velveteen Dream. It was this unique presentation that people hadn't seen in a long time, and it was completely kind of different. And it caught people's imagination, and some of the pay-per-view matches he had with people like Aleister Black, people like, I think, Adam Cole, and even I remember the one he had with Cassius Ohno about the knockout thing, and he said, I'm going to knock Cassius Ohno out in the opening 10 seconds, and he knocks him out and he nearly gets the victory. All that kind of stuff was amazing, and everyone thought, this guy is just insane. He's unbelievably talented, and he seemed destined not only for a call-up, but huge success. And then over the course of the last 12 months, everything's just fallen apart. Everything's fallen apart. And whilst it is, I guess, sad to see a career fall apart that quickly, if any of these allegations are proven to be true, and I don't know if they ever will be proven to be true. Again, like I said at the top of the video, when it comes to this kind of stuff, when it came to the speaking out movement, that was, I guess, partially part of the problem with it, is that all of these allegations are just that. They're allegations, and they are very difficult to prove. Now, some people do have more evidence than others. Some evidence isn't just anecdotal. Some evidence is, screenshots, videos. In the case of the Velveteen Dream, voice messages, there were people saying that they didn't necessarily believe that those voice messages were accurate or those screenshots were accurate. I don't necessarily know about that. I think some people were frankly a bit quick to defend the guy, but we have to believe in a due process, even though, again, there was no real charges or anything filed. When it comes to the news now that he has been released, as I mentioned before, yesterday when it comes to Drake Wuertz, and these are completely different situations. They are completely different situations. Drake Wuertz was completely, going off the rails in terms of the political stuff and it bleeding over into the workplace and all that kind of stuff. The Velveteen Dream, all of this stuff stems from the allegations put against him last year. But it's the same destination, and both of them no longer being involved with the company. But also, it's the same destination and same thought process of, how did this take this long? How did it take this long? And that's the real question. When it came to Drake Wuertz, he got given chance after chance after chance after chance. And you wonder who within the company was truly fighting for him, given how divisive he was being. And it's the same situation here with the Velveteen Dream. You wonder who was fighting for him in WWE and in NXT. I don't know. I don't think it's fair for me to assume who was. Whoever was fighting for him, whoever felt that they could turn it around or he could turn it around, obviously felt that, enough's enough. Enough's enough. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means in terms of, fresh allegations. We haven't heard anything about that. The rumor yesterday about the talent releases yesterday specific to NXT was budget cuts. And maybe it's a case of, if there are legitimate budget cuts when it comes to NXT or talent at the Performance Center, maybe WWE looks at a Velveteen Dream and a Drake Wuertz and says, you know what, these guys are just too much trouble. They've got so much heat on them that it's too late for them to turn it around, and they're on more money than some other people at the Performance Center. And you know what? Enough's enough. We've tried to turn it around. We've tried to fix it. We've tried to hold on to you for as long as we can, hoping that the heat would come off, but it's not. The heat isn't coming off. And genuinely, as I said earlier on, I think that's the thing with the Velveteen Dream. I really do. I think the reason why it's taken so long is because WWE hoped, because as I mentioned about the guy's career and the guy's potential that he had, and the fact that he is 25 and he had great success in NXT and was destined for great things on the main roster, I genuinely think that they thought, if we can just keep him out of the spotlight for a stretch of time, maybe, just maybe, people will move on. And maybe people will forget or people will forgive or whatever. I think that's very naive in the modern landscape that we live in right now, especially given the world of social media. People don't forget. We live in a world right now where something that you've tweeted 5 years ago, people can bring that up. So something as serious as, these allegations of misconduct that only took place, they may have taken place years ago, but certainly surfaced a year ago, to think that people would forget that. And with more allegations that came out over last year, and every single time people started to move on, it got brought back into the spotlight, people just haven't forgotten. And if anything, WWE's quietness or silence on the situation or investigations into all of it, it just stoked the fires even more. And maybe WWE needs to realize how to handle these kind of situations going forward. Again, I'm all for due process, and I think obviously you're innocent until proven guilty, but WWE also have to think about PR and they have to think about image. And I think when it comes to the Velveteen Dream, they tried, and obviously it's enough's enough. And the only question now would be, why did it take so long? And like I said, he hasn't been on NXT since December 23, 2020, and it's a real drop in fortunes. It's a monumental climb and then a very, very, very quick descent. This is what Sean Ross Sapp is also tweeting, a quote that he received. He said this is a message he got 10 minutes before the Velveteen Dream news broke. Probably the first pre-confirmation I've got on something like that. Said, quote, "I'm not going to tell you what I just heard, but I know you will hear it soon enough. So let's just say it's true," obviously referring to the Velveteen Dream. And like I said, the general consensus, I think, has to be, why did it take so long? Why did it take so long? And like I said, why did it take so long? And WWE, I think, has to learn from this. I think they still do have to be transparent about this. Do I think the Velveteen Dream is going to go to any other promotion? No, I really don't think so. Again, the big discussion now will be, why did it take so long? And what else have they found? Or is it just a case of, we tried to keep you around, but it's not going to work out. People don't forget. And I know this will open up the discussion about these allegations once again. Maybe that's a good thing. Because it did kind of feel like that they just kept being brought up and then sort of disappearing, which is very odd. Anyway, I'm very sure that this isn't the last we haven't heard of this. In fact, I'm sure it isn't. We will hear more about this over the course of the next few hours, and if we get another big break in the story, of course, we'll post it here on the channel. We'll talk about it. I'm sure tomorrow we'll continue to talk about it, but the Velveteen Dream has been released by WWE. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'm really interested to hear your opinions on this one, so get comments in the comment section below. Really interested in what you have to say. Smash a like on the like button too. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Got the rankings. Get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.